Okay, so when you wake up every morning, you get two choices. You can either live in the memory of your past or the vision of your future. Once you're aware of this, thought and feeling become a choice. Let's go. I'm Jacob Smith, and this is Observant Attention. So I just want to thank everyone for coming to episode 3 because I realized my first two were a little bit sloppy, a little bit choppy, but you know what? I'm going to find my voice eventually and I'm not worried about it. Actually, I believe that the information got across to you, and if it didn't, eventually it's all going to make sense. It's all going to come around. So thank you for joining me today. And I'm really excited to talk about this stuff because Dr. Joe Dispenza was the one that had me in awe more than anything else I'm going to talk about. Now, it might be different from person to person, but this, I believe, is the most important because it relates to our beliefs, our attitude, and our perspective. That's our thought and emotion. They're just simple, repetitive states of being time after time. It's our conscious mind being consciously aware of what our reality is, and then thus programming our subconscious mind to be in the boundaries of those emotions. Now, we'll talk about that, and it's very interesting to me. Now, this 20-minute clip was slapped together. I don't know if the interview was necessarily 20 minutes, but this 20-minute clip that really brought this point to me changed a lot of my outlooks. Now, I want to reiterate that an emotional connection to this material is very important, but I believe that today's information just needs an open mind. You can find a way to be emotionally attached, but if you're just a little bit curious as to where our thought and emotions stem from, then this is going to be right up your alley. I'm going to start by saying saying a few things that are a little bit sciencey because Joe's a scientist and he touches on this stuff. And quite honestly, I'm not the most scientific guy in the world, but this was actually really interesting to me because it gave me a better understanding. It almost dumbed down for me how exactly the brain works. So let's dive in. Are you ready for this? Most of our thought and feeling come from our past experiences. This happens through our 5 senses: seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, feeling. And those senses are processing our external environment and forming these pathways in our brain. Remember, we talked about those neurological pathways with the pianists and the basketball players. That your senses program those neurological pathways, and since we talked about imagination doing the same, so do your thoughts. Now, these pathways come to reflect the external environment. The process, what we like to call the chemical state of emotion or feeling. Since we are taught to live through our senses since we're little, seeing is believing, we touched on that, experience creates more long-term memories. In the same way, what we learn, like when we learn something intellectually, something that we enjoy, that's valuable to us, we organize our brain activity, thus creating these pathways. When something impactful happens in your life, a similar process follows. Your brain follows that neurological pathway to form those clusters in your brain, which essentially brand your brain with that memory. Now, I'm bouncing a little bit back and forth, but all you need to know is that our memories and our thought create the same neurological pathways. Because our brain is a record of our past experiences, most of our thought and feelings tend to be within the pathways formed in the past, which keeps us within the boundaries of what we remember. Thoughts are the language of the brain. Feelings are the language of the body. So what you are thinking about and feeling in this very moment creates your state of being, right? Well, a cycle of continued thought and feeling creates your attitude. Good attitudes come from good thoughts, and bad ones come from bad thoughts. Fair enough? You may feel good in the morning, but bad in the afternoon because there is a change in your attitude, which we now understand as multiple shortened states of being. When you start to string several attitudes together, they form beliefs. But a belief is just a thought you continually focus on over a period of time until it is hardwired into your subconscious mind. So a belief is a series of attitudes, and an attitude is a series of shortened states of thought and feeling. Are you with me? Since beliefs are formed from experiences, then your beliefs are locked in the boundaries of how you felt in the past. If you are unaware that you can think your way into emotion, you can think your way into the moment, you can think your way into getting out of those programmed negative thoughts, then you won't be locked in that boundary of how you felt in the past. But if you can't get out of that, then all you feel is what you've experienced. This is why we have a difficult time when those beliefs get challenged, because we are so programmed to believe they are true. Whether they are or not, we don't even consider if they are or not, because they're so deep-rooted in us. The moment you feel insecure, you have thought and emotion to reaffirm that, which causes you to feel more insecure. And then this continues to wire your brain to feel more emotionally insecure. If you're somebody that struggles with confidence, I'm sure you didn't necessarily, have that out of the womb. Maybe you adapted from people that were around you, and then slowly as school started to go on, you started to get more and more insecure, and then you started to get more introverted and more introverted until like you didn't know how to come out of it. Now, if you're somebody who was insecure and introverted and that has come out of it, I'm sure you could see that there was a transitional phase where you stopped thinking insecurely, and that formed different neural pathways in your brain. You became a whole new person altogether. Maybe you overcame a fear of public speaking. Maybe you overcame a fear of socializing. Since this then becomes a familiar emotion, it conditions the body to subconsciously become the mind. Because your body feels, and your mind thinks, but your body feels. So if you're conditioned emotionally, then you'll have feelings that sometimes won't be attached to a thought, because your body recognizes those feelings because they've felt them in the past and will continue to use them against you. Once the body aligns with your subconscious mind, this becomes habit. Thought and a feeling, thought and a feeling, thought and a feeling, attitude. Attitude, beliefs, habit. Joe then throws a stat at us right here just to mix things up. 95% of who we are by 35 are a set of habitual, unconscious thought and emotional reactions that function like a programmed computer. Since beliefs are subconscious, they now control our state of being. Whether they are about health, relationships, how to make money, religion, what sports teams you like, how often you should wash your hands, like how you should treat people, a majority of our beliefs, we don't even know that we believe them because we are hardwired convinced that they are true. Remember we just said that. It doesn't matter what you believe it, right? Whether it's true or not in somebody else's head, those are your beliefs that you hold true, and they ring true because of your past experiences. If you maintain habitual beliefs, those start to become perception. Your perceptions of life, your perceptions of how you should be, your perceptions of how other people should be. So let's digress a little bit here, okay? Our perceptions have everything to do with how we act. What we create, our relationships, our conscious choices, how we view everything, right? How we react to external factors, that's our perception. Because that's how we believe we should react. And how we believe we should react is based on habits. And our habits form from our beliefs, and our beliefs form from our attitudes, and our attitudes have been programmed from our conscious states of being through thought and feeling over an extended period of time. I'm not done. Gets better. Now, if beliefs are subconscious, and you're continually stringing these beliefs together to allow them to control your perception, then the most people's perception is through the lens of their past unconsciously. We are seeing our current reality in the lens of our past memory, which means we are overwriting our present moment, overwriting our future goals, aspirations, whatever our future is, with a memory of our past. But what this does is it limits us. It limits future possibility because we are now programmed. We have now adapted this program limitations of how to navigate and how to function in the future because of what we've experienced in the past. In order to change our perception, we know as reality. Remember, all reality is what your perception is of possible. We have to decide with such firm intention, because imagination and reality, your brain doesn't know the difference. If you're reaffirming with such great intention that's greater than that hardwired programming, that brain, that emotional conditioning of the body, then our body begins to respond to that new brain, to that new mind. That happens after habitual desire. If you understand this concept, it happens because you won't go back. Because you understand that you are in control of your thought and emotion. Maybe not right now because your past is, but once you understand this concept, you can move forward. And I'll explain. What this means is the choice or intention then becomes an experience. So your imaginative mind then becomes greater than the experience of your memory. Because the mind and body never forget. That internal experience begins to reorganize the pathways and circuits within your mind. Your thought can override any experience simply with strong habitual intention to do so. I think there was a study done with regards to memory and experience, and something like 50 or 60% of what we remember isn't even actually the truth. Because we make it up in our mind. But that's because from telling the story over and over again, we change our past. If we could change our past with our storytelling, imagine how powerful it would be if you did that every morning and night. Visualization, affirmations. I'm not done. Your thought can override experience simply with a strong habitual attention to do so. This then begins to rebrand the emotional mind and body and provide your liberation from the past. So in order to change our beliefs about money, relationships, moods, our overall limitations, we must come out of our resting state, our subconscious mind, by experiencing inwardly greater than any other past experience to date. That moment is when our biological makeup begins to change. I promise you, if you find a way to understand this, you'll find a way to override your past experiences, whatever they may be. Now, this means that once you are liberated of your past beliefs, your new self is biologically, neurologically, chemically, hormonally, and genetically different than your old self. People who figure this out and step away from it do it because they feel uncomfortable. So here's where the issue lies. Most people figure this out. They figure out that that's my past self. And then they begin to change, and it feels so uncomfortable at the start, so scary that they become fearful of the unknown. What do? Well, they immediately revert back to what they know. But let me ask you something. Wouldn't the best way to get over that fear, to predict the unknown, be to create it? That unknown is a blank canvas to paint the best version of yourself. We talked about this last episode. So many people live in constant survival mode. But if you're living in fear of the unknown, fear of the future, all you're doing is holding on to the past. Once we step into the unknown and begin to create, we then decide our thoughts. We decide our behaviors. We decide our feelings because we want to demonstrate those ones in our new life. And we begin to detach from what we've held on to for so long. Then this becomes a mental rehearsal, right? That rewires your brain into those new beliefs. Continually affirming your new beliefs begins to wire the brain as if they were memories of the past. And you know what this does? This primes our brains into the map of the future rather than a record of our past. Associating feelings and emotions with that profound intention teaches your body emotionally what your future is going to feel like. And by doing that, you are attracting everything you want. Now, we don't just jump from the old self to the new self overnight, right? It requires habitual process to alter our biology, to alter our neurological pathways. But this knowledge and this understanding becomes the inspiration. This understanding becomes the inspiration to maintain and seek change. Change in what we've wanted to leave in the past. Well, we just figured out that we can now create a new personal reality, a new personality, because we are changing what we are thinking about. We are changing how we are feeling. Thus, we are changing our actions. And your personality now creates, or your new personality now creates your new personal reality, made up of how you think and how you act and how you feel. So the person sitting here today, listening to me talk about this, genius, Dr. Dispenza, genius, has created their present personal reality called their life. We have created our present personal reality right now. We call it life, which means if you want to create a new life, a new personal reality, you have to change your personality. The way you think, the way you act, and the way you feel. Start being aware of thoughts, unconscious habits and behavior, what you say, what you do, and change them. Change them. Look at the emotions that have kept you anchored in the past and decide if they belong in your future. Make that conscious decision to look deep into yourself and see those emotions and see those thoughts and ask yourself if they belong in your future. Now, there's over 4 minutes left in the video regarding health, societal hypnosis, neurological coherence, meditation, and honestly, the proof of its application. All this stuff he has backed up with proof of info in 20 minutes. And I highly, highly recommend looking at this video. The way he articulates is far better than I ever could. I hope I did a great job today, but I recommend just taking 20 minutes extra and go checking this out. But I want to talk about one thing for a second. The change in my overall emotional intelligence, future aspiration, thought control, interpersonal communication, my ability to be in the moment and wake up excited every day these last 5 weeks has put my life in an entirely different direction. I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you today, talking to you today, if I didn't truly believe that there is an opportunity that we are overlooking right now. Everything positive I learned is now clearer, and the negative is slowly, day by day, getting placed in the past. My memory of the past has been habitually forced to be only good thoughts, to be only the stuff that I require to be the best version of myself. Now, that's not to say I don't have negative thoughts anymore. I do, but I'm able to be aware of them and switch them far faster than I ever thought possible. And eventually, they will cease to exist. They will be eradicated because, like I said, I've only been practicing this for a short amount of time. But I have to address them for this to habitually make sense in my mind, and then I will be able to subconsciously override them. The timeline's very subjective to different people. Everybody goes through different things. Everybody has different pasts and different trauma that have profoundly affected their lives. But I want you to look really deep into this, really deep into yourself, because I believe in a general sense that this information is profoundly applicable to the vast majority. I sincerely hope you understand, and I hope you see change. If you have any questions or would like to expand on some thoughts, feel free to reach out. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Gmail, all at Observant Attention, and show notes will be posted at observantattention.buzzsprout.com. One last thing. I want this podcast to reach as many people as possible, as fast as possible. If you have a sec, you have no idea how long or how much it means to this information if you would go subscribe, download, and review these episodes. Anyways, to create a future rather than living in the shadow of your past. That's how it's good. That's how you're supposed to do it right there. My brain's a little mushy right now. Thank you so much for joining me today, and on this journey, stay inspired.